All right, do you see the on-demand applications again?
Yes, I do.
All right, cool. So where were we? Cosmos, Kebnekaise, and Dardel at LUNARC, HPC2N, and PDC have some applications available through one of a couple of services that are variously titled On-Demand Desktop or Open OnDemand or Desktop On-Demand. These on-demand applications provide an interactive environment to schedule jobs on compute nodes instead of login nodes, using a graphic user interface or GUI instead of the typical batch submission script. How you reach this interface depends on the system and their choice of on-demand client. Cosmos and Dardel both use the on-demand desktop developed at LUNARC, which is accessible via the ThinLink client. So you get on the HPC desktop through ThinLink, and then you can go to on-demand apps within that client. On Kebnekaise, there's the ThinLink client, and then separately there is a dedicated web portal for Open OnDemand applications. So they're completely different. You cannot get from one to the other. So for Kebnekaise, you need this dedicated web portal. I will do a demonstration on Cosmos and a demonstration on Kebnekaise. Both today, I will be using Matlab for both of those. Desktop on demand is most appropriate for interactive work. So that is, and mostly for work requiring small to medium amounts of computing resources. So ideally, you don't want to have this running for more than a business day consecutively. Depending on the facility and which type of node that you're on, you may not be able to run for longer than a day. Although in some cases you can, on Cosmos anyway. But non-interactive jobs and jobs that take more than a day should generally be submitted as batch jobs, or if you absolutely have to use an interactive interface, but you have a longer job, you may need to try and break it up and make sure you keep track of the wall time limits for your facility and save often, close often, restart often. And try not to use any more hours consecutively than you absolutely need, because the more hours you request, the longer your queue time. On-demand applications are not accessible via SSH. So you have to use either a ThinLink client on Cosmos or Dardel, or the dedicated web portal on Kebnekaise. For this course, Matlab is available on demand at all three of these facilities. And on Cosmos, there are, if for some reason the direct method of accessing Matlab doesn't work, there's also a couple of on-demand command lines under Applications General that you may be able to use to get onto Matlab interactively that way. And as a last resort, there's always the interactive keyword or the interactive command line. But I'll be showing a demonstration of the on-demand system. Batch jobs. I mentioned this earlier in the morning, or alluded to it at least. Batch jobs submitted from within these interactive sessions are not bound by the same job parameters, like the wall time restrictions and the node restrictions, things like that, that bind the on-demand interface itself. So if you're in a Matlab GUI and you submit a job with the batch command, you are then free to close the Matlab GUI and come back to it later. The batch job has already been sent out. It will run. And it will run based on the separate set of parameters that you've given in the scheduler plugin in Matlab. We're focusing for desktop on demand. We're focusing on Cosmos at the expense of Dardel, because Dardel, reaching Dardel via ThinLink is very difficult. There's only 30 licenses to go around for all users. So the odds that you'll actually be allowed to open one are quite low. And even if you do get on, the queue times can get very long. It's recommended that you instead use Dardel with via SSH with X forwarding, and then follow the workflow that is detailed in the link that you can go to by clicking here. And also don't forget to keep track of how many cores you actually need and to use the correct partition based on those needs. So rather than go through these notes, again, I'll do the demonstration live. Keep in mind, if you are using Dardel, most of the procedure is the same on Dardel as it is on Cosmos. The main difference is that the on-demand applications menu will have some different text. So if I open the Cosmos application, can you see the Cosmos window?
Yes.
All right. So you find all the applications on demand under here in this applications window. And the only applications, all of the applications that run on demand are under these subheadings that are preceded by applications and dash. So only these applications run on demand on backend. If you go up under favorites and you find this terminal, that's running on the front end. Don't use it, especially not for running a Matlab GUI. So anyway, the main difference between this and PDC is that PDC, instead of saying applications with a dash, it says PDC with a dash. All right. So now I'm hovering over applications dash Matlab. This is where all the Matlab versions live. And you can see there's 3 per release. The difference between them is that the one with no suffix, this runs on one of the A40 nodes, which there are AMD versions and Intel versions. They have different numbers of cores, but they do have GPU partitions. So they're a bit more restrictive to get onto than the CPU nodes. These are ideal for doing work that doesn't rely a whole lot on graphics. So if you want the GUI, but you're not going to be doing a lot of plotting or visual simulations, you probably want to use the CPU version instead, because there are a lot more of those nodes, and so queue times are quicker, and you're allowed to run for a longer time on them. So I'll very quickly. And then there's these HEP options. Those are private, specifically for the physics, the high energy physics department. So don't use those. Anyway, I will click on one of these releases. So here's the regular version. And when you click on one of these menu options, you first get this pop-up that is called the GFX launcher interface. So this is how you set the parameters of the job that runs this GUI interface. So this is the regular version. The default wall time is 30 minutes, but you can click and drag to anything up to 24 hours, or you can enter something custom, like say 10 minutes manually. You can also choose between these 2 nodes. So the Intel NVIDIA A40 32 core node has 32 cores instead of 48, but each of the 32 cores is a little bit larger, and you can run this application for a maximum of, on this node, for a maximum of 48 hours, partly because there are more of this type of node. The AMD versions have more cores, but each core is slightly smaller, and the maximum number of hours that you can run on one of these at any one time is 24 hours. And if you need to change other aspects of the job requirements, so you can see this has by default asked for 4 tasks per node. If I want to change that, I just click this little gear icon and then it pulls up the second menu. Here I can change the job name so it's easier to find in the queue if you aren't filtering by if you've got a lot of different jobs. This can be handy. Here you can adjust the number of tasks per node. You can adjust the memory per core. So sometimes you need more shared memory within a core, and so you can actually steal memory from other cores, but those cores then become idle. So you are charged for all of the cores that you used, even if some of them are just having their memory borrowed from. You can also select a full node, and that removes these other two options. So that's what you select if you want to have a full node exclusively. It's sort of equivalent to the exclusive flag in a Slurm script. You can also select this use reservation. Sometimes courses or projects will have a reservation number that you can pick from this drop-down menu. I don't have one of these right now for this course because we're not doing anything computationally expensive, but that is there if you need it. So I'm not actually going to change any of these parameters, but anyway, so I'm just going to cancel that. You would click and drag and select from one of these other options. I believe the menu item for this course is LU 2025-2-94. So now if I want to say start that, then I just click start. And if everything goes right, then this little gray box here turns green. And soon enough, you'll start to see a little Matlab loading box. If it's taking too long, or if you're wondering what's taking so long, or if there's some sort of error happening, then you go here to look at the log and see if there are any error messages. Okay. Normally I would have expected to see a Matlab option before. This worked before. Okay, it may be that I am using the wrong account. So there it goes, finally. Rather slow this time around. Anyway, apologies for the small type. It doesn't like to play well with my desktop settings for whatever reason. But this is how Matlab looks when you open it in OnDemand. You can see everything works like you would expect. So if you put 2.3, 2 plus 3, the answer is 5. So then I'm just going to close this. So if you want to quit, you just click this X button. This doesn't always immediately stop. If you want to recover your time immediately and force stop, then you click this stop button. And that prevents you from eating up any more of your allocation time. So just to quickly compare the settings that are available for the CPU version, if I go to the same year and pick CPU, that's different from yesterday. Usually sometimes it says 2 tasks per node, sometimes it says 4 tasks, sometimes it says 1, but anyway, you can always adjust it with the gear icon. But you'll notice this time around it says the resource is AMD 48 cores. Those are these A100 compute nodes that are or CPU compute nodes. For features, this is where you can pick a fat node if you need more, if you need much more memory per core. And again, you can select from your various accounts. Everything else is pretty much the same. So now I am going to show what this looks like on the portal for HPC2N. So the portal you can get to by just clicking where to go. The portal you can get to on Kebnekaise by clicking this this link here, and the dashboard should look like this. And so then you just click the log on, fill in your credentials. I don't think it asks for two-factor authentication. Yeah. So then you'll end up on this this dashboard here. And sometimes you might need to pay attention to this message of the day in case there are any sort of like disruptions or power outages. Most of the time this isn't important, and this also isn't regularly updated. So if you see the date is ancient, then you can ignore it. So then you just go to interactive apps, and you can see you have the option of the Kebnekaise desktop if you need to run something from the command line. And then there are these other servers that you can use to connect directly to, for instance, Matlab, which is what we're going to do now. So it automatically fills in your compute project if you only have one. If you have more than one active, then you can click from this drop-down menu and select which one you want to add to, or which one you want to charge this usage against. Then you can select the number of hours, and this goes up to 12. You can only select, I think you can only select integer numbers of hours. So, but you can stop the, you can stop and start the program as you need before that. You can also choose from one of several node types. Any will get you a standard compute node. And that will give you some node between 28 and 256 cores, and between 185 and 1,000 gigabits or gigabytes of memory. You can also select any GPU, and that will get you one of these. There are a lot of different options for GPU nodes. You can also select large memory if you need a fat node with large memory. And if you don't care, just click standard compute. That's usually plenty. However, if you need a certain number of cores, that can help you. You can use the number of cores to restrict some of the options for the standard compute. So if I were to pick 48 cores, then that would get me on a one of the larger Kebnekaise nodes. For the working directory, you can manually type in whatever you want, or as long as it exists. You don't have to type in anything. It defaults to home. But if you want something else, you can either type it in, or you can click select path and then choose from one of the options in this GUI. So let's say I want to go into Documents, Matlab, select path, and then you can click Launch. I'm selecting the smallest number of hours. So if you want to receive an email when the session starts, that can be useful if you're requesting a very long time, because then you might be in the queue for quite a while. And then, so it'd be better to receive an email instead of have to wait and stare at the next screen. So let's click Launch and see how long this actually. Oh, I thought that would. Huh, okay. All right, that was not what I was thinking it was. Okay, so you can choose up to 200, you can choose up to 28 cores. And sometimes you luck out and get on a machine with a larger number, but you can't necessarily use all of them. So going to click Launch. All right, so as long as you're waiting on this to start, the top bar here where it says MATLAB proxy and the job number will be blue. And once it starts running, it turns green. And then you just click connect to MATLAB. And sometimes it demands your authentication token. And if that's the case, just close out and try restarting again. It's a little bug. This is fairly new to the HPC2N's on-demand portal was just implemented this year, so or this semester actually. So the launching can be a little bit buggy in terms of with the authentication, but it will eventually work. You just might have to stop and restart it. But as you noticed, I was able to close this and reopen it without having to restart the job. This will run to completion unless you hit this delete button. So anyway, now you're in HPC2N, and you can do something like config cluster, and it will. So let's say you can do something like config cluster. You can do 5 + 3 is 8. You can do whatever you want that is typical in MATLAB. So then I'm just going to close this because I don't actually need to do anything in MATLAB right now. Leave page, yes. So now what you already saw that I was able to close this and reopen MATLAB. Now, what happens if I want to actually recover this remaining 57 minutes and not have that be billed to my account? Well, if you just let this keep running, it will use the rest of that 57 minutes. So you have to actively click delete in order to stop the job and recover that time. Once you click delete, then it will say you have no active sessions. I haven't shown this here, but I do show this in this documentation a little bit further down. It is possible to have more than one application running at a time. So you might have a MATLAB proxy, Kebnekaise desktop, Jupyter notebook. That all might be running at the same time. That is perfectly fine. You can toggle between them. You can close some, open some, whatever you want. Okay, so I've gone over all of this. And so to summarize, you have a couple of different options depending on your facility for running these applications on demand. And now I think we will head on back to I will stop sharing my screen and we will head on back to the main room.